Probably won't.
Probably won't.
I'm going to call the meeting to order at 4:04. And first thing on the agenda, I'm hoping, is that we can approve the minutes of September 24th as presented. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? Anybody?
Sure.
Second. Are there any changes, deletions, corrections on that? Do you guys remember?
I think it was pretty straightforward.
It was, thank you. Yeah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So I'm going to just basically request some time at the end because I have a few calendar changes perhaps, and I met with the superintendent today trying to come up with a schedule for the school. And we ran into a small glitch, and I need your assistance in figuring that out. And I also have some paperwork from the school for you to take home and look at. So right now, though, I will turn it over to Karen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Karen.
I actually would like Doug to introduce the staff that are here, because I think that it would be nice where some people don't know people by names, is at least the staff here to at least get to know them by name.
Sure. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate hosting me here at the garage. We went through some extra work to clean up and got some vehicles on display and equipment, so you're welcome to look around. And we got our new backhoe right behind me that just came in a couple weeks ago from last year's warrant article. So anyways, today we have, for our staff here, a lot of you guys probably know Bill Sargent over here, who's our operations foreman, and really appreciate Bill. And back here, we have Steve and George. Steve's a light equipment operator, and George is also a light equipment operator, both are light equipment operators. And George is also our assistant mechanic, who's been filling in. We're in a full-time capacity right now, and we're trying to recruit that position. So.
And there's these three individuals that are here are Littleton residents too. And I think that's important to know. You're no longer? Okay.
No longer. I've been in Lisbon.
Okay. Well, I just
my parents were here. And I guess I was a property owner until we sold out.
Yeah. How many others are on the crew?
Bill, can you help me out? We have total.
Yeah. We have eight others, and of course, we're including you, we have 10.
10?
Yeah.
Plus we have a mechanics position open.
Correct.
Yes.
So 11.
That is not full. That
Okay.
hasn't been filled yet.
We have 2 part-timers usually in the summer and 1 part-timer in the winter, unless the winters are pretty bad, and we may end up calling someone else in. So when we go through the proposed budget, you'll see a proposal for a second winter person. So we've got warrant articles to talk about, and we've got the budget. Do you have a preference of where to start?
Probably the budget, wouldn't
Okay.
you say, and then go through the warrant articles? Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm handing some that way and some this other way. There might be a few
one
extras
for
there,
Dan.
so if you need one.
There we go.
And we're missing Shane and,
Oh, I probably need one more.
is there
then.
one
Yeah.
more person from the budget committee?
Dan.
No, Dan.
Yes. Yeah.
If you've got extra, I'll give them to the guys too.
Yeah. Good point.
I got it. The Dan and Shane.
Unless it changed from 413 yesterday.
Okay, we start out with Public Works Administration. There is 33% of the wage lines and benefit lines that go out to the sewer funds. Doug is involved with some sewer projects and kind of monitoring what's happening at the sewer plant. So there is a percentage of Doug's time that needs to go out to the sewer plant.
And that percentage hasn't increased?
No, it has
Okay.
not changed. It's 33% last year, it's 33% this year.
So when you say above the line, which line are you talking about?
Okay, when I'm talking about the wage line, it's number 1.
Yep,
So number 1 through number 7 are wages and benefits on this
Okay.
first page.
okay.
And there is a slight increase in the health insurance we're predicting at this time. And there is the 3% increase that we've included in the proposed budget. The proposed is $2,812 above 2020's approved. It's a 2.72% increase. Under Public Works Department, we've already included the CBA increases in the default. The only line that I've highlighted in the permanent positions is the mechanic position, because we believe we're going to need a warrant article to adjust that. We have an increase in the temporary positions for 2 winter part-time seasonal employees for 4 months. This is due to an increase in a plow route. The mechanic's position, we've decided to pull the plowing responsibilities out of that position and have someone else do that. And it has worked very well to have 2 people on the sidewalk plows and taking care of the sidewalks. They get done much faster. They are kept up with compared to previous years when we only had 1 employee doing it.
So out of the 11 members of your staff, how many do snowplow removal?
Actually, it's 10 total, right, Bill?
It's 10.
Sorry for the confusion.
Right,
Yeah.
mechanical would be well, Doug's position
Is in the admin.
is different than what it is here. So there would be 10 positions in the blue collar
Okay,
labor part.
not the admin. All right,
So one of those positions being the mechanic's position, which would be filled, we hope, soon. The process, every one of them has a plow room.
okay,
Everyone did, and mechanic did, but we always ran into problems that stuff needed to be fixed, and you gotta pull that mechanic's position, that mechanic's plow route out. Now, that mechanic's plow route is the alleyways off of Main Street, Mill Street, your public parking lots, strain development, stuff that's really close to the garage. So, one of those part-time winter positions is with the sidewalks. So, hiring another part-time without benefits will take over that route that
Okay.
the mechanic used to do, which is a vital area of town. And if it, we ran into it last year a few times, then without it being plowed, it doesn't take long until the phone starts ringing.
okay, yeah, thank you.
So there is 10 active plow routes or plowers.
Thank you.
So under overtime, there's no change. Under health insurance, we do have an increase, and we have had some staff changes and plan changes. So along that route, of course, it increased our cost. We haven't got final numbers all put together yet on the health insurance, but we are working on it. None of the other changes in the proposed, they're all matching up with the default or last year's budget, unless there was a cut. Under data processing, we are hoping to get our new software up for Public Works. And in order to have the software and keep it updated, I don't believe this software has been updated since at least 2000 that they've got. We're looking for $2,000 at least for software support.
It's an old MP2
Windows 90.
Windows.
I can relate. I can relate.
Under pavement maintenance, which I'm skipping down because there's no changes in the rest of that budget, down to pavement maintenance roads, there is a reduction in shim pavement from 25,000 down to 15,000. Under vehicle maintenance, there is a reduction of $5,000, and most of that's coming from the front and back springs for all trucks with sets of U-bolts. So there is a reduction there of $5,000. Vehicle repairs, there's a reduction there of about $5,000, and that's under all vehicles. And the total proposed budget for public works, the garage piece, is $1,212,678. It's $12,436 above 2020's adjusted, and it's a 1.4% increase. And the budget is actually a little under the default. Going on to bridge sidewalks, street lighting, that's the same as last year. There's really very little that we can control in there. The bridges is just a preventative maintenance, and could it cost more? Yes, but at this point,
Yeah, bridges and the sidewalks get maintained. All of the concrete sidewalks, since Main Street was redone, and a lot of the other infrastructure around town has been redone, like Church Street, let's say, with the new concrete walls, and we've got to preserve those. So what we've done is we've started a concrete preserving program, because the sidewalks on Main Street, which is a whole different subject, is
Yeah.
have to be sealed every year because of the amount of salt and activity that's on them. So that may see an increase in that as time goes on.
Before you go on,
Okay.
I'm just looking at year-to-date, and you have it as October 1st, so you still have a couple of months,
Yes.
3 months to go on that. But there's some significant savings there. And I don't know how you would do that, build a new budget on that with,
some of the
if
savings
you catch
is
my drift here.
because of, some of the savings is because we have not hired people as quickly and replaced people as quickly as they have left. We were asked to try to look for savings within the budgets, and one of them was to put off hiring certain individuals or certain positions right off. The other thing on this is we are getting some FEMA reimbursement. I've been working on the Broomstick Hill project, and just in equipment reimbursement, which is part of a warrant article, there's about $60,000 that they're reimbursing us toward the equipment. 70% of that, 75% of that 60,000. Plus, we're getting reimbursed for some of the employees' time. So we've got some savings there because of it. Could they use some of that savings if the selectmen wanted to? When the money comes in, the selectmen could use some of that savings perhaps to buy or pay down one of the pieces of equipment, or buy one of the pieces of equipment we're looking for in the 2021 budget.
So most of that would go into the unfunded balance?
Fund balance, yes.
Fund balance, there we go,
Undesignated
undesignated fund balance, I'll get it. But I was just looking at the vehicle repairs and things like that. It's, it's significant, but I also know that there are 3 months left, and probably most of the repairs are in the winter, right?
That is correct, but we're also anticipating with the 2 new 10-wheelers that haven't gotten here yet, but that are so close to be getting here, that would take 2 of the trucks out of mainline plowing, which would also eliminate, or we're hoping will eliminate, some costly repairs, because the new truck shouldn't have any problems. So we're anticipating that. And along with the backhoe, the old backhoe, we were really starting to dump a lot of money into, and that comes out of vehicle equipment repair or maintenance. And with the new backhoe, that's going to savings. So having some newer equipment saves you kind of
Right.
last year's budget from January 2019 to December 19, we ended up being 6.69% left of the budget. And those numbers reflect mostly, and again, were positions that we didn't fill correctly when someone got done. We were most of last summer without a heavy equipment operator. So along with that goes their benefits and their insurance and everything else. And that almost equals the exact amount of money that we were in the good for.
Right.
So the positions do make quite a bit. Other than that, most everything runs fairly close to what we anticipate are going to be expenditures.
So what, the numbers that are on this spreadsheet right now are the actuals for expenses, and when you get the FEMA funds, that would come in as revenue, on the revenue line?
It will partially come in as revenue, but I can reimburse expenditures that happened this year from those funds. So if we get the money this year, I can reimburse the salary lines some of those expenditures that took place.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out how to reflect the actual expenses and then the actual revenues that come in. And then you do your magic with the reimbursement and where it's applied to, right? Okay.
So we had a warrant article for $148,000 for broomstick. Right now, the expenditures are roughly $146,000. My understanding is they're going to also reimburse us 5% of that $146,000 for admin expenses. That's for Doug's time involved, my time involved in the FEMA project and costing everything out. They will reimburse us part of what has been paid to us. Now we can post it against the salary line, or we can post it in the revenues once we receive it.
I'm just trying to keep this straight in our minds so we know.
The other thing with this is they did not hire their summer help as they normally would to help take care of some of the summer projects.
This was correct. Stuff we were requested once COVID came in and was going to make itself at home. We were requested to try to look anywhere we could within our budget. And this summer help was what we had to give up, and unfortunately there were some things that just didn't get done. It was what was asked, and that's what we did.
Well, yeah, thank you. It's an unusual year, so.
Yeah.
It's an unusual year.
In total, I believe we had come up with about $160,000 that we had to try to find within the budgets, all budgets. And different budgets gave up different amounts with it.
Accordingly. Any other questions? as we go?
Any questions?
Not a question,
Now let's move on to the sewer budget. The sewer is operated by an outside plant operations, but the town is still involved because we need to make sure things stay in compliance. We need to make sure the building's taken care of. The things that need to be replaced or fixed or repaired get done. We don't want to let them go, because if we let them go, we end up with a very expensive replacement. So we do have some increases in permanent positions because of some of the adjustments within other departments. Under tax collector, we have bumped up that amount that's coming out. There's the 33% from the admin. There's a small amount from Public Works, garage. There's an amount that comes out of the finance department for sewer. and executive department toward the sewer because we're all involved in some way. Is it an exact science?
As are we.
We hope that we're pretty close to those numbers. Overtime stayed the same, of course, as the other departments that are involved in this increase either wage-wise or staffing. It does affect the rest of this budget from line 1 through line 8 on here. Then we have workers' comp, that's staying the same. Professional services plant, I believe there's going to be an increase there, but I have not got that amount. That usually doesn't get to us till the end of October, beginning of November. It's usually tied to the CPI. Data processing, there is a slight increase there. I know positive there is because I got the bill on it.
Oh.
Professional service, let's see, most of this budget is the same with a reduction in the property liability. I've got an estimate from them, and it looks like we're going to get a little tiny bit of a decrease. Under sewer postage, we have increased that. The billing so far for the year is almost $1,400. So there is an increase there. There's an increase for the audit expense because many of our grants are sewer related, like the sub-area 5. A lot of the river district had sewer related monies in them. We have to have a specialized audit. And that specialized audit cost us at least $5,000 more for that audit. Under debt services in the sewer, we have some reductions. When we finally got through with the sub-area 5, and we're winding that up right now, I got the figures of what the payments will be, and the payments are reduced from what they were estimated at this year. And there is a final payment for the USDA sewer loan that was refinanced with Bank of New Hampshire. It shortened the term of that loan, but the final payment is in 2021 on that. So when you look at line number 30, the approved budget for 2020 was $1,044,901. The proposed budget for 2021 is $1,048,580, a difference of $3,679. It's a 0.35% increase. The proposed is a reduction to 2020 from 2020's approved budget. So there's less than a 1% increase in this budget. So the sewer rate should stay pretty stable.
So it'll go up at less than 1%.
Yes.
Because I was just saying to Carrie, I'm beginning to realize all of the components to the services and the what we charge people. We have the sewer bill, we have our tax bill, and we have our Littleton water and light bill. And so when you have, they all go up, then it's the same person, it's the same pocket, and so we need to be cognizant of what happens in all of those areas. And so last year, with the sewer bill increase, I think on my home, it was probably like $100, something like that. So on top of the taxes that we were paying. So that's the reason why I always kind of focus the light on this, just to say, keep it in mind too, because it is part of the services that Littleton renders, and it's part of the bill that the taxpayer or user has.
Is it accurate to say that I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
all the costs of the sewer are borne by those who are connected to the sewer? Is that right?
Right. And it's a direct
so the
user
revenue
fee.
equals the expense.
It's
because
a
it has
revenue
to.
neutral because it has to be. The taxpayers do not pay a portion of this budget except for through their sewer bills.
Right.
So, in essence, it's sewer users, it could also be called sewer tax. I know the town I come from, they call it wastewater, and we're charged fees instead of a tax.
So it's
Whatever you call it,
Okay, sorry. No, keep going.
nope, I just was saying, whatever you call it, is the cost to the person owning the property.
So it's a direct billing
It is.
to those, yeah. Question on the operators for the sewer plant.
Yes,
I assume that they're licensed to do it. They have to meet certain educational requirements to run a sewer plant. Is that
and
correct?
I'm saying it's correct, but Doug was the best one to answer for
We
that.
have a class 3 operator for our plant.
Yeah.
It's appropriate for our type of plant.
Yeah. And are there different levels of licensing? You know, is there?
Yeah, I know somebody that works at a private, ski resort type community, and they have and he's a grade 2 operator, and that's acceptable for their size and type of sewer system that they have.
Yeah. So
And
all
I
our
understand there's a grade 4 that's for, maybe I've heard a little bit about Whitefield putting in a pretty higher tech sewer type treatment system, and they needed a grade 4 operator.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely different grades depending on the type of sewer system.
And is it staff 7/24, or is it?
No, they work normal hours during the week, Monday through Friday, 40-hour week, but they are on call 24/7.
Yeah. So I assume there's alarms then if something's out of control. And
Yes, sir. We've got some alarm issues, not so much at the main plant, but at some of our pump stations
yeah. All right.
that we've had to deal with. So yes.
All right.
One thing I do want to advise the budget committee on, because it's a future thing coming, but it's here now, is we have a brand new waste discharge permit that was issued to the town just last month in September.
Does that mean that we're in compliance with EPA regulations?
We're not in compliance under the new permit. They've changed the consent levels for a number of different things, and they're making it more challenging for us. They've just tightened down the screws, as I like to call it, but they're giving us a time frame to implement and meet compliance.
Is this state or federal?
This is EPA.
It's EPA.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So we do know, based off those numbers and the new requirements in that permit, that we are going to have to implement some projects to meet compliance. But they've given us 3 years, 3 to 4 years to implement or reach those goals. So I just wanted to advise, it's not changing, it won't change the budget for a while, but at some point that will be coming online.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're working with our plant operator, we'll also be working with our engineering consultant on how we go about addressing those and implementing them to the plant and coming up with a capital improvement plan. I mean, we're doing an overall capital improvement plan for the plant, but that will be incorporated as well.
Hopefully it won't be as dear as Whitefield's situation, right? That's at about 8 million right now, I think.
Right. We don't believe so, based on what we're seeing. We have something new this year. We have to test for phosphorus. And we have a new requirement for meeting a certain phosphorus level.
We can help with that from the testing at Potter's Lake, right? We've already done
I
that.
know, phosphorus, there you go, it's coming up again.
If you need any assistance.
Things like metals, they're putting a higher level, lower requirement on metals in the water. All this is being scrutinized on a much larger scale, the whole Connecticut River Valley basin, and all the treatment plants that are all contributing, discharging into the Connecticut River. So it really is looked at on a much more broader scale, but each plant gets its own. And our permit actually expired in 2014. So it took them 6 years to finally get to Littleton and get our permit updated. It's a 5-year permit, so it's issued in 2009, expired in 2014. And we just got the renewal.
How often is the reporting required?
We report monthly.
Okay. And what if you're out of alignment on phosphorus or
We have
nitrogen?
to report non-compliance.
And what happens when you have one?
Well, I mean, if it's a 1 or 2 time thing, we haven't seen any concern from them, but
Yeah.
if it's a repeat thing,
Yeah.
then it becomes a problem.
Okay.
John, I'd really encourage you to go down and meet with Dan. He'll give you a tour,
Oh, I
take you
will.
through the whole process, and
Yeah, I like
then you
that
can
stuff.
even see the pure water coming out into
Yeah.
the Amanuset at the over the bank, and into, it is really a neat process.
Yeah.
Bring your own drinking glass.
Yeah.
Do they keep fish in the weir box so they can make sure?
No.
So I'm going to move on to proposed warrant articles, and this may not include all of the warrant articles that we're considering, but I believe we've covered a majority of them. So the first one is our Public Works Vehicle Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. Our proposal is to add $1,000 this year to that. We started it last year, and over time, we're hoping by, and I have the capital improvement plan for the vehicles here. Over time, the plan was to increase the amount that we're putting in there as we pay off our leases or our loans on vehicles, to stabilize it, and I'll show you that in a moment. The infrastructure improvement, road, street, sidewalk, and sewer. This, right now, we're proposing the same amount as what we have this year. We were able to do more roads this year than what was originally planned because of some construction companies needing some work. And Bill could probably talk to you a little bit more on that. Public Works equipment vehicle lease with escape clause. And when I hand this out, you're gonna see what the plan was to purchase this coming year on a lease and to spread the payments over during a 3-year time frame to fit into that number that we were trying to get to on a yearly basis. There will have to be an escape clause on it. There will be an amendment at this point for the ASME agreement, if it's agreed upon, between the CBA and management to restructure the mechanic position for underpaid skills to be able to perform this operation. And this was something that we've been looking into and evaluating the cost of a mechanic and trying to attract a mechanic with the skills that we wanted. And I'm not sure the dollar amount at this time because it's still in the works. But I need to place a placeholder in here to be able to plug numbers in or take this out if it fails.
How do you determine what that salary needs to be to attract the skilled individual?
Well, Roger Emerson, one of our selectmen, was involved in discussions with Doug Demko, and I believe Billy was involved in that too, and trying to figure out what was needed and what would be a good solution for the town that continues to have equipment that needs to be serviced, and it's not just diesel. It could be electrical or many other variety of skills. So there was a wage study at one point, and comparing with other companies that use mechanics and trying to come up with a reasonable scale for that.
And I would assume Roger, does he have employees that he would be able to say, well, I'm paying this much for this skill, or?
I can't answer that. Doug's more involved. No. I thought he was by himself, working by himself.
I think so.
Roger
yes.
would ask those questions of himself, but obviously he would have a very good feeling for the scale in town of Littleton and the quality of technicians out there available. So he certainly would have as good a means of analyzing that.
We've actually advertised for quite a few months trying to get a skilled person. We started out at the current wages that was in the contract, and the skill levels just weren't there. So we
Steve, do you
had to
have a
step
question?
back and look at it a couple of times.
I would, if I could just back up to the previous article. So are we looking for another 10-wheeler dump truck?
At this point, we are.
But we haven't used our first two yet, have we?
We haven't got them yet.
Well, I know, that's what I mean. When we originally discussed this a couple of years ago, when it actually didn't pass, the idea was, and obviously we had a few different faces there at the time, but we weren't 100% sure that this was going to be a solution for every route, but we thought, really, I guess at least one route or two routes we were going to use it on, and we thought, so I mean, is that changed or advanced, or we have a...
Well, the vehicle plan I laid out last year, and we talked about this internally, you know, just with the cost difference between the 6-wheeler and 10-wheeler, you're just looking at that alone, it's about a $30,000.
Yeah, and also, I always remember the resale for a used 10-wheeler is much higher than...
Right, so we looked at all those things and really decided, looking at our overall fleet and deciding, do we just do a few of them? Because right now, we have a 6-wheeler, if it wasn't gonna be a 10-wheeler, we'd have a 6-wheeler on Memorial for this year.
Right, but,
So we really went back and forth, do we want to spend the money replacing a 6-wheeler? We've started so we made the decision just to change out the whole fleet to 10-wheeler.
and 10-wheelers would be appropriate for every route? Do we feel good about that?
They're not needed so much for like that amount of material to be hauled,
Yeah.
but we haul sand during the summer, we use them for construction.
Yeah.
If there's a benefit to that truck, even for just our year-round operation.
Okay.
We don't
But
need
are there
that
any
much
routes...
extra material on some of the in-town routes that they're being used.
Any issue, though, with maneuverability on any of the routes?
No.
Nope, we've looked at all of our turnarounds.
Yeah.
We looked at those and we actually test drove in the two routes that we had maneuverability problems with are on the routes that the 2 10-wheelers that are coming in and going on. And we have corrected those issues.
Sorry, it's
Yep, absolutely.
Some
Yep.
sweep
And
area.
The other ones, the other routes that would be like an industrial park,
yeah.
Mount Eustis, Cedar Road, Far Hill, Fox Ridge, and so there's no problem there. Then the other one is, the other route is Edencroft, Balkan Road, Reedy Way, Old Waterford Road, Hilltop, Williams Lane, Williams Road. So we really did, if you talk about misery, Keith Reinhardt's out there working now, and he's done a remarkable job of building a great turnaround for any size truck, I think, up there, and on the bottom of Dodge Road. Those were the two areas that we needed to adjust the turning around, and they came out absolutely fantastic.
So no problem with in-town routes and having the equipment for
No,
those
because the
in-town?
in-town routes will be taken care of with the 550s.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 350 that we have.
Okay.
So I handed out the vehicle replacement plan that was for last year, that was proposed, and we had a goal of a 3-year catch-up plan. And in 2020, we had on here 2 10-wheelers. It says, it says 6-wheel, but we upgraded to the 10-wheel. And we had on here the backhoe. Those were purchased, so we do have payments on it, and it's scheduled over 2 years. In 2021, our goal was to purchase a sweeper, a Ford 350 pickup, and the next 10-wheeler, the third 10-wheeler in here. So we were hoping to finance them, and that would be over 3 years, broken down. The goal was, and if you look at the bottom long line, you'll see where we're trying to stabilize the amount paid out every year to be right around $350,000. So instead of having spikes when we buy a vehicle outright, or having a spike and then a reduction and spike and reduction, our goal was to try to keep this pretty constant. And our plan was that in, and I'm sorry I have to get my eyes focused on it, in 2026, we were going to be able to put aside money of at least $200,000 a year, and then pull that out when we needed our next group of larger costing vehicles, as an effort to try to stabilize this so it stayed right around $350,000 a year. So that was our capital improvement plan, which Doug developed. I worked on the financial end of this, and these are estimates, and it's not saying that it couldn't be adjusted, but this was our goal, to catch up the vehicles and get some decent vehicles in play.
Did you found good financing for those 10 wheels?
Yes,
I mean, a considerable savings.
1.51%.
Yeah,
Well,
that was great. So,
yeah, I think I don't know, it's not the Federal Reserve, maybe it is. They're going to try to keep the interest rate at zero for the
Till
next.
2023.
Yeah.
They
to
don't have much
2023.
choice.
No, they don't. But I mean, for us,
Oh, yeah.
it helps.
Yes, it does. The only
Yeah.
trouble is that if you have to go lower, that's not an option unless
Yeah.
you're gonna,
Yeah.
Well, with the warrant article that we have, the town is able, because we had that warrant article that allows us to refinance if we can get a lower rate. A couple of years ago, that was on a warrant article, and it was put on there until rescinded by the voters.
yeah. Yeah, it's just that with, monetary policy, part of the monetary policy is the ability to reduce interest rates. And that's actually why they got raised 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was, Chad. It was, not that they had to go up, but the sentiment was that if the country could afford to have them go up, that we should, so that we would have the ability to come down and don't want to have to get into a situation like Germany or something where you actually end up with negative interest rates. So, but that's another discussion.
So I'm going to move back to the warrant articles. The only one left is a parking lot improvement warrant article. And this, at this point, we're presenting as $150,000. And this is the purpose to design, improve, replace, repair, and pave parking lots in town. It can include engineering, any structural underneath that needs to be repaired, but it is a hope that we're able to get these items done. And these are proposed warrant articles. Doesn't mean that the selectmen have approved them yet, because we haven't even got that far.
How many parking lots are we looking at, Karen?
I'm going to refer to Doug.
Emmett Park, looking at I'm here actually at the fire station. And then also our lease lot here from Muskema.
Okay.
Is that where anything behind the movie theater?
We could, possibly. We'll look at all of them, but those 3 ones are the ones that we're needing the most.
I was just thinking, because I know we had that warrant article, we purchased that barn. We don't have any update on that barn, it would be torn down or anything like that.
Because that's going to involve expanding that parking lot, right? That was the-
Right, so once you tear down that barn, and I mean, that parking lot really needs
Yeah, the
engineering,
plans-
drainage, but I mean, first, I think that the down hub has the greatest, possibility for increased parking in the downtown.
What does?
Increased parking, that lot behind the movie theater.
Yeah.
Because if you take down that building, you not only can you park where that building is currently, but also the parking spots that are in front of it. And you really could even reconfigure that for a better layout, for better utilization of that space. I think you can really expand the parking in the downtown, which is great.
Do you have an estimate of how many additional parking spaces would be? in that
Andrew
area?
said up to 60.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
between tearing the building down to be able to park there in front of it, and different painting, different line striping, there's a significant increase in the possibility of space.
Does any of this involve parking on the other side of the Amanuset tied in with that project or not?
I Doug would know better, but I believe
Yeah,
that's
that's a
gonna,
separate
that's a
project.
separate, grant-funded project that's the one through the Clearwater, through CDFA tax credits, through, Northern Borders maybe? Right, is that River District, what are
Right,
the
I'm trying to
bases?
remember the other one.
Okay. I mean, not that, from the wording, not that it couldn't be used.
Yeah, I mean, that is, and parking is gonna be improved as part of that project.
Yeah.
The lighting, the parking down there as well, but that's not, I don't believe that was in this.
That wasn't intended for this one.
And the
This
parking
was
lot,
more of a maintenance thought. This was more of a maintenance focused list, not so much trying to add
right.
project.
The parking lot behind the movie theater, no meters, is that free public parking, or is it going to
I think
eventually?
they've tossed the idea around of meters at some point, but
Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah.
They've also tossed around the idea of landlords that own buildings where people need to park, instead of parking on the street, possibly having parking permits where there will be a contact for that vehicle in case we need to clean that area, so we can get a hold of them to plow that area. There is talk of that too.
So in Portland, I just paid, we went to the museum and on the street, the meter, 25 cents, 8 minutes. So that was a wake-up call.
And was there a limit to how long you could park there?
2 hours,
2
yeah.
hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
And they probably mark tires there too.
They probably did, but
Some
we got
places
out of
do.
Dodge before that happened, so.
That meter must have a credit card deal on it, right? Yeah.
You could have, but it was also coin-fed, so.
I think Steve has a question.
Sure.
Yeah, but you have people that come out of town sometimes too, and they park their cars, like park them all back in Jackson, I don't know if everybody ever noticed that. They have flat tires, and they're usually there like a month or 2 months just sitting there. They
Yeah.
take up, valuable spots.
Yeah,
Then we have, the cost next door, they said, give them a little month, and then, take a picture, show us, which one it is, and they'll take care of it, so.
where do the owners of the businesses park? On Main Street?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing, business owners, what do they?
I mean, yeah, where do they
Park in the
park?
bank, but,
You have parking, but,
somewhere along like the mural,
oh, yeah,
down
okay.
there. It all depends on the property owner, Photo Factory, they have a parking spot that they own, same with Shutters, for instance. It really depends on the business, the Fidos, they have their own parking up back there. It's all, but I think a lot of it is, along that mural and along the river walk, the
Okay.
river, Rotary Centennial Park, that area right there.
All right, yeah.
some people park too at Union Bank up
Yeah.
that in the upper.
Oh, yeah, that upper
Yeah,
parking lot, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, and a
Okay.
couple park in the leased one from the bank too, but not as much.
Also some at the community center. I know that some of the people that work at the courthouse pay for a parking spot at the community center.
Oh, okay.
So it's leased to them.
Yeah.
You could always see from Father Mark and get a spot at St.
Yeah.
Rose.
Walk down the hill, get a shuttle bus going up.
Yeah, you have your own exercise at the same time.
So
Right.
this is what I presented, and Doug's presented, Bill's presented for the Public Works Administration, garage, sewer, bridges,
Gee,
streets.
Karen, without Andrew here, we're like, where?
No little
So
stories.
Just a question on these articles. These are separate from the budgets, is that
Yes,
correct? And
yes.
So these are voted on separately,
Yes,
and the budget itself gets voted on.
as one lump
As one
sum,
lump sum.
other than
Okay,
the Opera House and the parking meters. Our goal is this year to get the parking meters put back as part of the operating budget again.
okay, so what happens there's people that want everything separated out, and there's some who don't, so
Right.
is that, yeah, all right.
And these items, some towns put 500,000 in their budget every year for roads, streets, sidewalk, and sewer.
We used to do
repairs.
that, didn't we? Didn't we used to do
I
that?
don't know if it was in the budget, but we always name I don't know, are we gonna name like the streets and stuff that we'll work on? I know that was always.
Well, it's decision not to put the names in, because if we can get a deal like we did this year, we can do more roads. If you have a warrant article that's so specific, you can't expend that money on anything else. It has to be for that. You can't even take the money and put it somewhere else to spend.
But if it says Foster Hill Road and other roads,
You're all set.
Foster Hill Road.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
Which is very nice.
Yeah.
But you might
All
find
set.
people that will say, I don't want to vote for that because I don't feel Foster Road is worth improving.
Sure.
Just because that word is there.
yeah.
You know, you have to look at it both sides.
Yeah.
I came after all of that, so don't blame me.
Yeah.
So one other thing that the budget committee asked for, or Diane asked for last time we were together, was leave time. I'm taking the one that I got marks all over. A leave time review of what people earn for leave time and what the different.
And that was due because of the discussion with EMS and the fire station and all of that. So I'm not focusing on any one particular, but
So the top piece in yellow is the SEA contract. And it gives you the month of service when they're between 0 and 12 months of service, which is up to 1 year. They accrue 1 day per month. Their days are equal to 10 and a half hours. So the maximum they can accrue is 12 days. Their workday is 10 and a half hours. If you look at the bottom, if they've been here 181 months plus, they accrue 2.25 in days. Their monthly accrual in hours is 23.63. Their maximum accrual is 42 days. So when I break this down further, it actually comes up to 27 days per year for the police department, when you break it down as a biweekly total. Then
But-
you've got the prosecutor that's a little separate because he's 8 hours a day.
Yeah. But the way it goes, in the third year, it's 21 days.
Yes, but this includes sick time, personal time, and vacation time. We call it leave time. One reason why we call it leave time is we have found out that there's nothing that says we can't offer a reduced buyout if somebody wanted to sell their leave time. Which if somebody wanted to sell 20 days and it's a reduced buyout and we can offer it any time of the year, they only get 75% of that. The town wipes off the other 25% of the liability.
And who determines the 75%?
The 75% is based on the amount of leave time they want to buy. So if they're selling 100 hours,
Yeah.
they only get paid for 75 hours.
Right, but
And they're-
where's the 75% come from?
That comes from the leave time accrual fund that we have.
I mean,
We
that's
have
an established, the 75% is an established buyout
Yes.
figure or percentage.
It's an established percentage if you want to do it any time of the year. We do offer 100% buyout, usually in November, to try to get as much leave time off the books as possible. And that the effort of doing that means that next year, if the person gets a raise or if the retirement goes up, we're not having to add to that liability for that time.
Where does the money, sorry,
Go ahead.
where's the money come from for
We
that?
do have a leave time accrual bank that is in the trust funds. It's over $80,000. It cannot be used for anything else but leave time. It was a warrant article years ago that was put on.
Is there an incentive, though, for people to actually use their vacation time, so it doesn't,
There is to try to get them to take time off. And there are people that take their time on a regular basis. But there's also people that don't.
You know, you take the highway department, for instance, you know, starting November 1st through the second week of April, we're on call 24 hours a day. And you've got a group of 8 guys here that don't take any time unless it's an emergency.
Right.
Family related for what, November, December, January, February, March, you know, 6 months. So and then in the summertime, yeah, I encourage these guys to take time off, believe me. But some of them, I don't think they're building it up for any other reason other than they just like coming to work. You know, I encourage them to. Most of them take some time off here and there, but.
So are the buyouts happening only when you're topping out on the maximum
No.
roll?
We offer buyouts at any time after 1 year. They can take their 75%. I've had somebody come to me and say, I need to fly to California because my grandmother just passed away.
Sure.
And I need to go with my parents, they're elderly, and I don't have any money saved.
Yep, I get it.
Of course, we don't loan money. We have a nice little package actually offered through Mascoma that we can do income advance loans. But this person didn't want to have a loan that they had to pay back. And the suggestion was, and this kind of started some of this, we could do a leave time buyout, and it was checked with Department of Labor to make sure that we met any requirements we needed to do at 75%.
Yep.
So that person was tickled pink. They didn't have to worry about paying anything back. They didn't take a lot of time off. They were able to sell their leave time and get their money in their next paycheck for that. We saved 25% of our liability on that. They got their 75%. They were happy. We were happy. We had an employee that was able to go when he needed to go. So,
is there a limit on the, say an employee has 50 hours on the books of leave time, can they sell all 50?
no.
No.
We expect them to keep 1 week.
And should someone do that and then have a significant illness, are they going to get popped? They won't be paid, right?
They could be paid through disability, but there's usually a 10-day waiting period. So that's one of the reasons why we suggest they have 1 week time set aside. The disability insurance covers 10 consecutive days. So if somebody is sick on Monday to the next Monday, that's 7 days. So most of that would be covered by their week that they've set aside.
But their disability insurance does not pay
100% does
100%
not.
of their salary.
It's 66% of their pay. Most people accrue,
That'd be short-term disability.
it would be short-term disability, and it pays 66.6% of the pay. If it's workers' comp, it's 60% of the pay. They can draw their leave time as they earn it, because we're not paying up for it all up front. We accrue it by payroll. So if you're accruing 4 hours per week or per payroll, you could draw off that 4 hours of payroll. At least it gives you some money that your insurance premiums can be pulled out of.
Your retirement.
And your retirement,
Right,
correct.
because if you don't take that, you just take your disability insurance, then, and you're not drawing anything from the town, you don't have anything going into your retirement account.
So if you
So
want to
you're missing-
cover those service
So
states,
now you're starting to go backwards in your retirement.
so if you're out 3 months and you don't have anything to draw from, you have 3 months worth of service credits with the retirement system. Either you have to pay for out of your pocket, or you don't get those 3 months.
got two questions. One, so how does the money get in that trust fund?
Has to be a warrant article to be money put in there. We have had enough in there since it's been a warrant article, to cover 50% of our leave time liability. And that's all the auditors require us to cover.
Okay, so as long as it earns enough stock market or whatever to grow, that it's self-funding at this
Yeah.
point in time. And on the 75%, is there Social Security and Medicare and all of that?
Anything that, the benefits that have to be paid.
So it's
get
paid as a
pulled.
wage item?
It does not include retirement because it's called above base wages.
Okay.
So the town doesn't have to pay anything for retirement on that money, and the employee doesn't have to pay anything.
But if their regular wages involve Social Security and Medicare,
Yes,
it
and it would
does.
involve that.
Yeah, other than with police, there's no social.
Police and fire, full-time police and fire do not have Social Security deducted. So if a policeman or fireman took a buyout
Yeah,
or reduction, that 75% reduction,
yeah.
they would only have Medicare
Only Medicare.
deducted from it, unless they're vested. That was one other caveat. If they're vested in the retirement system, then the New Hampshire retirement system benefit does get paid out. We have to pay that, they have to pay that. But anybody that's hired after January 1st, 2012 is not vested and have that benefit. There's a specific date, and it's something that we have to monitor on each employee.
And that date moves or doesn't move?
Yeah.
It does not move.
Oh, okay.
So there was some changes quite a while back that held that date, and it basically benefited the towns in a way and some of the employees.
What are we going to do without you, Karen? With all this knowledge. So, anything else, Karen?
Well,
on
if
this?
you want me to come back into your meetings, I could be a liaison to
You
the budget
can.
committee.
You sure could.
Consultants make good.
Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, we have no money.
They have no budget.
No budget.
So I do have the draft minutes from October 8th, which I've sent you all,
Right.
and you can review them, but I printed them out in case you wanted them. But if you don't want them, I'll just recycle.
Karen, the only thing I saw on that, and I haven't had a chance to look them all over, I don't believe Roger was at that meeting.
He wasn't.
No.
Okay.
So you've got him listed as being
Yeah.
present.
Okay.
So,
I'll
Yeah, we
take
can
one.
hand those out, and, yeah, we'll hand those
Yeah.
out. Might as well, right?
And my minutes are long. They're 5 pages long.
So I felt really bad that you took the minutes, but Pam, who was taking the minutes, is no longer available to take the minutes. So I didn't know if there was anyone on the budget committee that would like to offer that skill set. If not, we will put our heads together trying to figure out who can take that responsibility over, because I don't want you to have to do that. The minutes are horrible to do. They're time consuming.
Yeah.
I
The-
know.
The euphoria was short-lived.
Yeah, it was.
Other than Andrew did have that little piece of paper, single sheet, the very simple form, especially for the meetings that aren't requiring votes, that could be that simple, correct?
I put a lot of detail in my minutes because
I like it.
I've had somebody come back and say, you never told me that. Well, you know what? Let's see, on the minutes of such and such,
Yeah.
yes, I did.
Yeah, but Andrew's point, well, the sheet that he had was, I mean, that, at least that met the legal requirements. Yes, it didn't have any detail other than the date, where it was, the people who were there, and the subjects that were discussed. Highway, sewer, whatever, and, you know, which can literally be a 5-minute job, not a 55-minute job.
Well, this actually was over 4 hours.
It is. It's like, it's at least 2 hours for me, and mine are really simple compared to yours. So that leads us to the next question. At some point in time, we do need to have someone that comes in and takes the minutes. And it's really important, particularly at the end when we're taking a vote and, you know, we all have different opinions at how many people voted on this or that or abstained or, you know, it's really critical, particularly because it also goes on the ballot, our vote, our final vote.
Yeah.
And so I was asking Karen, I'm just tossing this out here because I have no answer on it. Do we need to actually have some sort of a budget for the budget committee for that purpose? I mean, right now, videography is supplied through the town when we have a town meeting. It's supplied through the school when we have a school meeting. We have no money, right, at all. And so we depend on that, but we also need someone to take minutes. And I have no idea what the going rate is or how much money we need or if we can find someone internally. But for the school side, I met with the superintendent today and I said, we will count on Patty's minutes as our minutes. So at least on the school side, we have that option because they require someone to take minutes at their meetings because it's a board meeting as well. I don't know what we do on the town side.
I'm available after December 31st, 2020. I'm
right.
going to be looking for a job.
But
I'm not looking for full-time.
But we still have to have money to pay that.
4 hours.
Yeah. So,
With the meeting here.
does anyone have any?
Karen,
Any
can we
thoughts?
take or allocate some money from general fund to be able to put some, without doing a warrant article?
The selectmen can, if there's some funds available, set aside some monies. Andrew and I have recently talked about this, and we feel in our conversations, and Andrew feels strongly that we need somebody that will take the committee minutes for not just the budget committee, but some of the other committees that we're not getting minutes from. The discussion is in the proposed budget, and when we get there for the office and for the other staffing, the smaller budgets, that there will be some kind of a line there for committee support. Is
All
what
in
we're
favor?
looking for. That is something we actually know somebody that used to take minutes for Haverhill. She's now working for us in another capacity. And she kind of gave us an idea of what she did, how much she was paid. And many times there was a tape recorder like this. People had to say their names before they spoke, so she would know who they were, who was talking. And she would get the tape from whoever in the committee was designated, and take the tape home and do the minutes at her home. And then send the minutes on to whoever needed them. They would edit them, send them back to her. She'd go back and forth until they were to the point of being approved by the committee members. And that person was assigned those duties.
It's a lot more than just taking notes, though. It's
is.
capturing the essence, it's capturing the, it's a lot more than just words on a paper.
And they are important because sometimes you have to refer back to those. So it's critical. It has to be more than just basics, which I'm
So-and-so
okay at.
discussed
Yeah,
the sweeper, but it doesn't tell you any details.
right.
So somebody reading those minutes don't really know what happened at the meeting unless they're watching the video.
And you can't, I mean, sitting here and listening to all of this information, you don't capture it all. I mean, you do have to go back to the minutes sometimes and say, oh yeah, that's what happened, you know, refresh my memory. So do you and Andrew and the board want to continue this discussion and come back to us on that? Do you have anything else?
No, but I believe the Public Works people would like to show you anything that you want to look at, equipment here. especially those items that they're looking at possibly getting warrant articles. I know last meeting when we were at the fire station, there was people interested after the meeting in seeing the ambulances and the fire trucks,
So, but can I take about 10 minutes
Yep.
before that? I met with the superintendent today. He asked that I meet with him, and we're having a scheduling problem here. So he had November 5th down as a meeting with, between the school and the budget committee, but that's actually one of our meetings. And he was hoping that we could possibly change that November 5th meeting to November 12th on the town side. Is that possible?
I will check with the library because they were scheduled.
Right.
The Opera House I don't see a problem with, but
Okay.
the library might, and we may have to squeeze them in somewhere else. And then I believe Parks was on also for the 5th, but I can
So
check.
we can check on that. So after we check, I will check with the school and make sure, and then I would have to get the schedule out to you guys. I'm sorry. He's basically thinking that the first meeting, he just wants to hear from us what we would like and what kind of format. He's new to it. He's a new superintendent. He's trying to figure out how to present to us and what we would like. He would also like specific questions. Specific areas that you want to address. And I was thinking, okay, they're going to present us a proposed budget. However, they still want us to be able to ask direct questions and give him a heads up so he can prepare for it. It's going to be complicated. So that would be November 5th. And this is last year's budget that he wanted me to hand out so you guys can get familiar with everything. And then Dan was very concerned that we also become familiar with this report from last year, because Dan thinks that this is really a pretty good report. And I thought also that it might help you figure out some of your questions too, and help us prepare for even their proposed budgets. So if you remember that from last year. So I just wanted to hand that out to you. So we have, if we were to count next Thursday, we have 7 Thursdays between now and Christmas. And we have 2 more meetings scheduled with the town. And we would have approximately 3 with the school. That's what he's assuming, that we're going to have 3 with the school. But we have 2 scheduled with the town, but we actually need more than that because we have to go over all the warrant articles and vote on them. So I don't know if we can look at all of these dates and come up with a revised schedule, just so, because you have to work with the department heads and everything. We had talked at the last meeting about looking at all of the equipment, or, the Public Works has their equipment, kind of $350,000. They're basically at that, but we also have the police department, we also have the fire department, and we haven't really looked at trying to figure out how we can not spike the budget on that. Do we need to look at all of this together? We had kind of said that we might look at all of the equipment together, or are we good with Public Works and we just have to address the other 2 departments? Is that a question that everyone understands? Because it was kind of garbled, but yeah. How do we want to do this so we don't spike? Because we have a fire engine.
I know you want to do it without spiking. And I'm not part of the vote on any of this,
I know.
but I feel it's fair to look at the department, we're here. If you're interested in the equipment, rather than coming back later.
No, we'll look at the equipment.
Yeah.
But I mean, budget-wise, do we need to have a meeting to just look at?
At the end, I think is the best time to do that, because one, you know what the tax rate is. You know where your goals want to be to try to keep the tax rate about the same or close if possible. So your decisions are better to be toward the end.
Right.
The decision on the budget would be nice to know ahead, because that's usually one of the first warrant articles. And then from there, your decisions throughout. I'm not sure what's happening with the agencies yet at this point. I've had a few of them contact me that want to keep it the same. I've had a few of them send information in. So those will be toward the end.
Yeah, I think those can go towards the end, don't you think? Because they're pretty much.
As long as it's not too close to the end.
I know, I
Well,
know.
The thing with the petition warrant articles, those have a deadline in January. And we really have no control of it. I mean, the budget committee can decide whether they support them or not, but they can't be taken off the warrant.
Right.
They can't even be taken off by the selectmen. The voters at deliberative session can zero them out.
So can we look at the schedule together and try to figure out when the
Sure.
school, the November 5th, if that's when the school, if we switch it around, they still want to have 2 weeks before they have the next one, at least 2 weeks, but they could be bumped into December.
Okay.
But anyways, we'll figure this out, and then we'll get back to you guys on that, if you don't mind. Because she has to talk to the department heads and make sure that they're available.
I have a few pieces to
Yeah.
put in play.
Put in
and Andrew's
place,
put in
yeah.
play.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was that. And so just take a look at this information and start formulating the format and how you want to go about it. He's really trying to communicate well with the budget committee. He's basically said, you know, things need to change a little bit on that, so that's good. That's good. The communication is there.
What dates would he be thinking then?
Well, he had the dates down, but it was really the dates that we already, it was like November 5th and November 23rd, but that is when we have the town, on the town side. So, and then he had November 30th.
I don't think we had anything the 23rd.
No.
No.
23rd?
We have a
Okay. But
we have a
that's a
selectmen's
Friday.
meeting that
That's a
night.
Friday, though.
No, it's a Monday,
Is it a Monday?
November 23rd.
November 23rd? Okay, so that's the other thing. Can we meet on the 23rd? Do we want to meet on the 23rd?
We've got a selectmen's meeting that night.
But you can't meet. So that was I explained that to him. I said, we have one member who can, Thursdays, that's the reason why we meet on Thursdays, because, you know, one of our members has a schedule, and that's it. Thursdays are it. So I'll work between Karen and the superintendent and try to figure this out. Is that okay, everyone? So, all right. Anyways, I think that is it, and we can take a tour.
Thank you, Diane.
What, that's last year's budget, the format, just try to look at the format and see. I know you want a bigger, thicker one.
Like we did, when was that? When did we have our last 3-ring binder from the school?
A long time ago.
It was like my first year.
Yeah.
I think it's time.
Yeah. The thing I've always kind of been partial to on that is when they've done it by building, when they've given us everything Lakeway, everything high school, everything vocational, and I'm not exactly sure today where we used to have a separate junior high, and now so maybe that becomes, I'm not sure if that could be separate or not, but you know, that's kind of looking at highway, fire, police. I mean, at least, you know, you can envision, you know, what it's costing to run Lakeway, how many kids are there, how many classrooms, et cetera, how many teachers, and that's the way I find most beneficial myself to look at it. Because when you do the whole thing, you mean, you know, and then again, I know sometimes, and even like with the town, they might have some shared employees now. I mean, that some might be teaching at the high school 2 periods a day and teaching in the middle school, or even like with speech therapy or something, they might have, you know, in 2 or 3 different buildings. So, but anyway, that's if there's any, I think I've found that the one probably the best in terms of to be able to visualize what they're doing myself.
So, do you have, how was it presented to you when you were on the school board? What format? Do you remember the format?
Boy, you know, it's been a long time since I was on that school board. In the end, the superintendent did up the budget and presented a pretty, it was I can't replicate in my head everything that was done, but it was standard income statement and balance sheet items. Debt coverage was certainly highlighted in the, or debt bonds and funding. So I can't, I often just think of income statements and balance sheets as a good starting point.
Yeah, see, I don't mind this format here because it's by function, regular education, special education, and it has everything but, you know, like vocational education, because in the big printout, it's 1, 2, 3, and you have first, number 1 is elementary, 2 is the middle school, and 3 is the high school. But this is regular education all together, the salaries and the wages. It shows you, you know, across the board what we're paying
Now I have the
teachers.
gist of your question, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So we had it broken out by
Function?
K through 8.
Okay.
High
Each
school
grade
over
level?
there.
Did you have each grade level, or did you?
No, we did not.
And I think that's where
We
you
had,
would
well,
be.
we had, I take it back, we had middle school, and we had K through 6.
But did you have it broken down, first grade, second grade,
No,
third
we did
grade?
not.
And that would be in yours? First grade, second
Well,
grade,
no,
third grade?
No, like, see, if.
That
you
big
break
binder was?
the- Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been so long.
Yeah, I know it has, but the big binder, it would be by grade level. It would be the elementary, but it would be by grade level. So you would see field trips for second grade, field trips for
Oh,
third
gosh.
grade, field
Yeah.
grades for fourth grade.
That's a lot of detail.
It's a lot of, so maybe I can see what other format we can do. You like the elementary, I kind of like the whole, that they could speak to each.
John, how did you address the high school?
Well, it's different. The high school is private, so it's tuition paid to the high school.
So it was one line item?
Well, it was, but there was a lot of questions in underneath that one line item. So, for example, there's always there's always a lot of people that try to claim they're citizens of St. Johnsbury, and then there's challenges from the school board about it because they're not really meeting the requirements, but it's hard to prove. So you get into all that kind of stuff as well. So it was a little squirrely.
And how do they handle special ed for high school level kids?
Well, that becomes you know, it's about Littleton, not St. J, but it was always some contention about that. The State Department of Education, of course, resented the private high school doing this, so they were extra hard on the academy about special ed, and finally the last headmaster, Tom Lovett, just bit the bullet and sort of said, we're going to put this beyond question so they can't question us. And that's what they did.
Took up the challenge and met it.
Took up the challenge and met it and made sure that it was more than ample for what they would be asking at the state level. Yeah. It's a tough question. Yeah. And you can see what kind of things you get into private versus the public.
At the end, John, I'm gonna ask you if they handle it better than we do.
Well, I haven't been through this in a while.
That's
here,
right.
so-
At the end.
At the end,
And so just take a look at this and see if we need to break it down even more between the schools, or if they could speak to regular education. They should be able to speak to regular education 1, 2, and 3 just using this format. But if there is a printout, I will get it for you, the binder. So,
I think,
because
I
I'm
think it's
sure.
helpful.
Pardon?
I think it's helpful.
Are there any benchmarks, like how many kids are in the system, how many are in each grade, how many teachers do we have?
Yeah, those are other reports that we can get,
Yeah.
you know, and I was thinking about that, you know, also how much at the year end for just the school year that just was completed, the undesignated fund balance, what was the balance in that? And I asked him to have that. I also asked him to have the default budget, because it's good to know how much what were one-time expenses, and so we understand that. I will ask him to have the beginning of the budget. I don't know. I'll have to work with him a little bit more on this. And
It'd be
do that.
interesting to hear where the revenues come from, exactly.
Yes, and the revenues. So, okay, so maybe we need to go back to the other format.
What about any COVID reimbursements?
Yeah.
We can have that. So, okay,
'Cause I thought
COVID
they had-
reimbursements.
Yeah, but I thought they had like 700
They got it.
in
700 in what?
I read somewhere, their fund balance this year.
Oh, just recently you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said there was quite a bit, but he explained that part of that was, you know, like, because of COVID, that certain programs couldn't be run, so they, you know, like coaches and things like that. So, but that part is never a large chunk of the budget. But we can have them break down where the funds came from of that 700,000. So I'll start putting this list together. If you don't mind, if you would send me like that question, just so I can get it on a list, and I would then be able to turn it around. Please, any questions that you have, like, you know, the grade level enrollments and all of that, that's really critical. How many teachers per grade level,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And this report will be an eye-opener. I know that you haven't seen that before, but
No, I've heard about it. but I'll take
Steve
a
and
look.
I spent a life helping on this report. But anyhow, is there anything else to come before the meeting, before we have a tour? So, is that it? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second. Okay, meeting is closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
2013, the town put in a warrant article for $35,000 for refurbishing. So we've already put $35,000 into it since then, not counting what we've been doing to it since then. We've probably dumped close to $60,000 into this machine from 2013 till now. Wow. It's not just the street sweeper. We use it to clean over 400 catch basins in town that we would have to have hired out. Of course. And we also use it for vacuum excavation. Let's say we're rebuilding a sewer manhole, and it's in such bad shape. We don't want everything dropping down into the pipes and everything, so we'll bring this out and get most of it all sucked up. Where we can get to